15 June 2026. The mighty national team of Spain, a global powerhouse and one of the absolute favorites to lift the FIFA World Cup, threw everything they had at a tiny island nation making its tournament debut. 27 shots rained down on goal, wave after wave of star-studded attacks, including the late introduction of teenage phenom Lamine Yamal. Yet, when the final whistle blew, the scoreboard read a shocking 0-0. The footballing world stood in absolute disbelief as a historic point was secured for Cape Verde. But the real camera zoom wasn't on the Spanish superstars walking off in frustration. It was on a 40-year-old goalkeeper collapsing to the grass in a flood of uncontrollable tears. This was Josimar Diaz, known to the world simply as Vozinha. In a single night, he became the ultimate hero of the 2026 World Cup, an overnight sensation whose social media exploded from 50,000 followers to millions within mere hours. But the incredible performance you saw on television was merely the final chapter of a story that borders on the miraculous. To truly understand how this veteran keeper stunned the world, we have to look past the flashing stadium lights and discover a lifetime of grueling obscurity, heartbreak, and a deep family legacy that almost didn't happen. The story actually begins exactly 40 years earlier, during the hot summer of the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. A soldier from Cape Verde was watching the legendary tournament and became utterly infatuated with the magic of the game. When his son was born that very year, he desperately tried to name the newborn baby Valdano after Argentina's World Cup icon Jorge Valdano. But local authorities flatly refused the foreign name. With his first choice shattered, the father looked to his second inspiration, the spectacular Brazilian fullback Josimar, who was lighting up Mexico with long-range wonder goals. The boy was officially named Josimar, a name destined for footballing folklore. But nobody knew that the grand name wouldn't matter on the dust-filled street pitches of Mindelo. Growing up with limited resources, young Josimar was largely raised by his loving grandparents, while his parents worked around the clock to provide. He would play endless hours of street football against much older. Whenever the physical battles became too overwhelming, he would walk home sulking and angry. The neighborhood kids would mockingly shout that he was running away to complain to his grandmother. In Portuguese, they called her Vozinha. What began as a cruel childhood taunt soon transformed into his permanent badge of honor. And then, everything changed as he tried to carve out a professional path. In a modern football landscape where teenagers are bought for tens of millions, Vozinha's reality was starkly different. He didn't even make his professional debut until the unusually late age of 25, signing for an unheralded club in Angola. For over a decade, his club career resembled that of a footballing nomad. He endured the cold, low-profile stadiums of Moldova, fought through the leagues of Cyprus and Slovakia, and eventually landed in the Portuguese second division with GD Chavez. He was completely invisible to the global media, playing strictly out of love for the badge and his country. But the real story starts right here, with his unwavering commitment to the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde. Since his international debut in 2012, he became the vocal leader, the strict locker room general who demanded absolute perfection from his teammates. Yet, as the years ticked away and his late 30s arrived, the ultimate dream of a World Cup appearance seemed totally out of reach for a country of just 500,000 people. He frequently contemplated retirement from international duty, feeling the heavy toll on his aging body. But he kept pushing, solely because of a lingering promise he made to himself. When Cape Verde miraculously secured qualification for the expanded 2026 tournament, history was written. But the biggest psychological battle was still ahead. As he stood in the tunnel on June 15, 2026, he looked across at the multi-millionaire superstars of Spain. At 40 years old, he was officially becoming the oldest player to ever feature in a nation's maiden World Cup match. The odds stacked against them were mathematically terrifying, and global pundits expected a routine slaughter. What happened next shocked everyone. Spain launched an endless, suffocating siege. Shots flew from every angle, but Vozinha transformed into an impenetrable brick wall, pulling off 7 world-class saves to completely paralyze the Spanish attackers. Age didn't matter. The nomadic struggles didn't matter. In those 90 minutes, he was the greatest goalkeeper on the planet. But that wasn't even the most emotional part of the night. When interviewed after the match, the world expected standard, joyful celebrations from the veteran hero. Instead, Vozinha broke down completely, revealing a heartbreaking reality behind his tears. His grandmother and grandfather, the very people who raised him and gave him his iconic nickname, had passed away just a few years prior, missing his grandest moment. Furthermore, due to an incredibly expensive and restrictive visa process, his mother couldn't afford to travel to the United States to watch him play. He had conquered the giants of Europe completely alone on the pitch, carrying the silent weight of his family's sacrifices. Vozinha's monumental stand against Spain will forever belong to World Cup folklore, a timeless reminder that football's greatest stories aren't always manufactured in elite European academies. They are forged in the quiet persistence of those who refuse to let their dreams expire. As the 2026 World Cup continues its grand journey, the little boy from Mindelo, who was teased for running home to his grandmother, has ensured that an entire planet will now respect his name. He proved to every aspiring underdog that it is never too late to rewrite your destiny, because true greatness doesn't care about the date on your birth certificate, it only responds to the fire in your soul. And if you want to witness more unbelievable underdog stories, historic World Cup moments, and the deep, emotional human journeys that make football the beautiful game, make sure to join our community. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and tell us in the comments, is Vozinha's legendary performance the greatest goalkeeper display in World Cup history? Don't miss our next